I used to be curious about who came up with the unique idea of building the Leaning Tower of Pisa in Italy. After some research, I found out that it wasn't initially planned as, let's build it leaning for style. It was actually the result of a technical mishap during construction. This made me even more curious about the event in 1990, when the Italian government decided to recruit the best engineers to renovate the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Throughout its 800-year history, there had been many attempts to fix the tower, but the new computer model of this engineering team showed the urgency of the situation. They predicted that the tower might collapse if the tilt reached 5.44 degrees, but at that time, the tower was already leaning at 5.5 degrees. Why is that? Did the tower not fall because there were too many people supporting it? Haha, I'm just kidding. Perhaps no one knows why the tower hasn't fallen yet, but we can understand this better by finding out why the tower was leaning when it was first built. In the 12th century, the big shots in Pisa, a wealthy coastal city, were determined to revamp the cathedral square to make it grand. They thought, why don't we build something impressive? So, in addition to renovating the cathedral, they also built a baptistry with a huge dome. Construction began in 1173 with an independent bell tower. The engineers and architects at the time were all talented, but they had a small limitation. They didn't know much about the land and geology of Pisa. In fact, the name Pisa comes from the Greek word meaning marshy land, describing the muddy, clayey, and wet sandy soil beneath the city. When the ancient Romans encountered such weak soil, they usually used huge stone piles to ensure a solid foundation. But the engineers in Pisa thought, 3 meters of foundation is enough, the tower isn't that tall. Alas, within just 5 years, the southern part of the tower began to sink deep into love with the ground. Indeed, a mistake could become a legend. At this point, if they continued building upwards, the pressure from the upper floors could cause the tower to lean more and collapse. However, when the construction reached the 4th floor, Pisa suddenly got involved in a war, so the construction of the tower had to be paused for nearly a century. During this time, the ground was able to stabilize, and when construction resumed in 1272, the foundation was much more stable. At this time, the architect Giovanni di Simone had a unique idea: build the subsequent floors a bit higher on the south side to balance the tower. But unexpectedly, the increased weight caused the southern side to sink deeper, making the tower lean even more. By the time the 7th floor and the bell tower were completed, the tower had leaned to 1.6 degrees. Over centuries, engineers tried every possible way to solve this tilt, but no one succeeded. Some even made it worse. Specifically in 1838, they dug around the base of the tower to inspect the subsided foundation, but removing the supporting sand layer made the tower lean more. In 1935, Italian engineers tried pumping mortar into the foundation, but the mortar flowed unevenly, causing the tower to lean even more. After many attempts to put out the fire, the tower continued to lean. A part of the problem was that the original engineers did not fully understand the soil structure beneath the tower's foundation. Without a clear understanding of the soil composition, engineers could not accurately determine the tilting angle that would cause the tower to collapse or devise a way to prevent its collapse. However, after World War II, researchers began to investigate like detectives, using scientific experimental methods to unveil the mysteries of the foundation. They studied, analyzed, and measured to discover previously unknown parameters. In the 1970s, engineers made significant progress in rescuing the Leaning Tower of Pisa. They calculated the tower's center of gravity, which is crucial to understanding how the tower distributes its weight on the ground. With the center of gravity determined, and with the help of emerging computer technology at the time, they could accurately simulate important factors such as the soil's stiffness, the tower's leaning trajectory, and the amount of soil needed to be excavated to make the tower more stable. By 1992, a specific strategy was implemented. Engineers dug overlapping tunnels under the northern part of the tower, removing about 38 cubic meters of soil. This helped reduce the pressure on the soil beneath the tower, thereby reducing its tilt. After removing the soil, they continued the balancing act by placing 600 tons of lead under the tower. This lead acted as a counterweight, stabilizing the tower during the next phase of the rescue project. Finally, they used steel cables to secure the base, preventing further movement of the tower and ensuring its long-term stability. These efforts are not only a classic example of modern structural engineering, but also demonstrate the combination of scientific theory and advanced technological application in preserving architectural heritage. After more than 6 centuries since its inception, the tower finally stands stable with a tilt of about 4 degrees, promising to continue to lean and enchant visitors for at least another 300 years. The tower is a symbol of imperfect beauty and the power of will. It's not just an architectural pride, but also a testament that it's never too late to correct mistakes.